allergy season. But it's so nice outside that, and the kittens enjoy having windows open, that I'm not going to deny, I want to open the windows. I'd like my house to cool off. It's not going to. I had to remove 2 large trees that shaded a good portion of the house because of my insurance company. So, so it's not going to cool off until it actually cools off. It ain't doing that either. It's going to be in the 90s for the next 10 days. That may be it, 90, but still, we're in October and the highs are still in the 90s. Okay. But that's not what you're here. You're not here to listen to me complain about the weather. You are here for your spiritual power. So let's do the housekeeping. And all the housekeeping is me reminding you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. Website is creativelife.org. Constant contact email, info@creativelife.org. That will get you 1 email a week that tells you what's going on for the week and the month, and the hot links are hot. It is also a blind CC, which means nobody will see your email. So you won't end up in anybody else's email list because of us. Now, I did say 1 email a week. I will point out, because like I'm whining about the weather, we do live in hurricane country. The only reason you would get another email, more than 1 email a week, is if something unusual happens. Okay? All right. Last thing I want to mention is the social medias, merely from the standpoint of we don't monetize them. We don't want to deal with the ads any more than you do. So what we ask you to do instead is to like, subscribe, follow based on which platform it is, and then engage with the individual posts. So react to the post, comment on the post, share the post. That will bump us in the algorithms. More people see our stuff. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center or Creative Life Spark, and I am the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. So there is that. All right. So your spiritual power is a collection of inspirational writings. Basically, these are some of his rarer works that are harder to find, and so they collected them together and put them together in a book. We are currently doing What Religious Science Teaches, and we are in the part where we are doing the Declaration of Principles, which has been amazing, and yesterday was really frustrating. What I like about it is he's showing you his work. What he is doing is he's showing you quotes from the various traditions that he's pulled from that helped him basically create the Declaration of Principles. Now, every now and again, like yesterday, I read a couple of things that I was like, you know what? No, this hits really hard on the ear and I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. Which is okay, because it's not exactly what I believe. And the principle that he's using that to support doesn't say quite that either. So what I disagree with in that quote, but that's what he's doing, is he's saying, look, nobody has all of the truth. Everybody's got pieces of it. Nobody's got the whole truth. We don't even claim to have the whole truth. But what we've done is, Jesse uses the word syncretic, where Ernest has gone and said, everybody has a piece of the truth, and he's pulled together as many as he thought he found. And he says, I don't have all the answers. I don't even have all the questions. So that's one of the amazing things about Science of Mind is we're allowed to disagree with Ernest. So let's get on with this. And if you are following along, we are on, because we're almost finished. Apparently he's not going to go through, line by line through all of the declarations, or maybe he hasn't. I just haven't noticed. So we are on page 132 at the bottom. I mentioned the allergies because of that. We believe in the healing of the sick through the power of this mind. Spiritual healing has long since passed the experimental stage, and we now know why it is that faith has performed miracles. We live in a universe of pure, unadulterated spirit, of perfect being. We are, as Emerson said, in the lap of infinite intelligence. There is a spiritual prototype of perfection at the center of everything. There is a cosmic or divine pattern at the center of every organ of the physical body. Our body is some part of the body of God. It is a manifestation of the Supreme Spirit. And interestingly enough, Dr. Amit Goswami makes that exact argument. If you've ever read The Quantum Doctor, if you haven't read The Quantum Doctor, I suggest you read The Quantum Doctor, because he says we have 5 bodies. The gross body, which is the material body. He's a nuclear physicist, so, gross body. But he also talks about the bliss body. Well, the bliss body is God's idea of our body, and that body is perfect. And so the idea is to go there, look at the blueprint, and then bring that back into the material world. So that's, he's not just whistling Dixie here. In the practice of spiritual mind healing, we start with this simple proposition. God is perfect. God is all there is. God includes people. A spiritual person is a divine being, as complete and perfect in essence as is God. When in thought, in contemplation, or in imagination, in inward feelings, we consciously return to the source of our being. The divine pattern, which already exists, springs forth into a newness of manifestation. And that's the idea. Go back, take a look at the blueprint, and then it springs forth into a newness of manifestation. When we clear the consciousness, that is the whole mental life, both conscious and subjective, of discord, we are automatically healed. Now that is what Reverend Jesse likes to call hardball metaphysics. Because there are examples throughout the ages, but it's not something most of us walking around can do. Do we get close? Yeah. Do we get all the way? Sometimes. Do we do it often? We're still working on it. And that's the point. That is, I believe, one of the reasons why Ernest named us practitioners, because we practice, practice, practice. The science of mind, which is the tool of the religious scientists, gives us a definite technique for doing this. It teaches us exactly how to proceed on a simple, understandable basis. It is a science because it is built upon the exact laws of mind, for the laws of mind are as exact as any other law in nature. They are natural laws. From a practical viewpoint, this is done by making certain definite statements with the realization that they have power to remove any obstacle, to dissolve any false condition, and to reveal a person's spiritual nature. True mind healing cannot be divorced from spiritual realization. Okay? True mind healing cannot be divorced from spiritual realization. Therefore, the practitioner of the science must have a deep and abiding sense of calm, of peace, and of their union with the Spirit. They must have an unshakable conviction that the spiritual person is perfect, that they are one with God, and they must know that in such a degree as they realize, sense, feel this inner perfection, it will appear. The physical healing itself is a result, an effect of this inward consciousness. The laws of this science are so simple, direct, and usable that anyone may demonstrate them who cares to make the effort. Okay, what he just said there is you don't have to be a minister, you don't have to be a practitioner. Anybody can do it, all right? Anybody can do it. Read carefully the entire section on mind healing in our textbook, The Science of Mind, and you will discover that there is no mystery about this. The reason that throughout the ages people have been healed through a prayer of faith is that faith complies with the law of mind in producing an affirmative result. Faith is unquestioned acceptance. And I have never heard a better definition of faith. Unquestioned acceptance. Faith is also a certain definite mental attitude. When Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe," he implied that there is a law, a force or an intelligent energy in the universe which acts upon the images of our belief. Faith is an affirmative way of using this law, this energy, this force. Therefore, all scriptures have announced the necessity of having faith. Ooh, okay, he's going to start quoting now, so prepare for interesting language. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Let this mind be in you, which was also in the Christ. I will put my laws into your mind. Hear, O earth, behold, I will bring evil upon these people, even the fruits of their thoughts. Well, that's an interesting quote. Where's he going with that one? Whew. And he sent his word and healed them. He forgetteth all thine iniquities. He healeth all thy diseases. O Lord my God, I cry unto thee, and thou hast healed me. Then shall thy light break forth as morning, and thine health shall speed forth speedily. That's an interesting translation. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. I will take the sickness away from the midst of thee. The tongue of the wise is health. Behold, I will bring health. I will cure them. Okay. Jesus turned him about, and when he saw her, he said, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith has made thee whole. And the woman was made whole from that hour. Then touched he their eyes, saying, According to your faith, be it unto you. And their eyes were opened. Heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely ye have received, freely give. And great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. In spiritual mind healing, thought becomes a transmitter for the divine power. Therefore, the thought must always be kept free from confusion. It is interesting to note that while the great scriptures of the ages concur about the nature of God and of humanity, and the relationship between the spiritual and the physical, outside the Christian scriptures, very little is mentioned about healing or the control of conditions through the use of divine power, although they all agree that when the mind reflects the divine perfection, healing and prosperity follow. In the texts of Taoism, we find the still mind is the mirror of heaven and earth. Maintain a perfect unity in every movement of your will. You will not wait for the hearing of your ears, but for the hearing of your mind. You will not wait even for the hearing of your mind, but for the hearing of the Spirit. Purity and stillness give the correct law to all under heaven. And from the Koran, the Lord of the worlds, it hath created me and guideth me. It giveth me food and drink, and when I am sick, it healeth me. And never, Lord, have I prayed to thee with ill success. Jesus, the last of his particular line of prophets, was the first to introduce spiritual mind healing, and definitely to instruct his followers to practice it. People have been healed through all faiths, but the great healing shrines of the Christian belief have undoubtedly emphasized this more than most others, although we do find many instances of healing throughout all the various beliefs. It is more particularly since the advent of what has been called the New Thought, which started in America and has since spread throughout the world, that we find great emphasis placed upon spiritual healing. This has been a sincere, earnest, and effective attempt to get back to some of the first principles which Jesus taught. He sent out his disciples, telling them to heal the sick as proof, not only of their divine power, but their divine authority. And he said, "Lo, I am with you always." Since it is self-evident that Jesus, as a human, could not be with them always, common sense compels us to accept that when he said, "I am with you always," he was referring to the divine power, the Christ principle, which he used. Okay. To speak of the science of Jesus is no misnomer, for he certainly knew what he was doing and repeatedly stated that his words acted as spiritual law. It might be said of Jesus that he was a practical idealist. Okay. He did not believe that the kingdom of God is some far-off event. To him, it was an ever-present reality. It was always at hand, waiting merely to be perceived by the inner spiritual intuition, which is the voice of God operating through humanity. Faith without works is dead. Therefore, faith should be justified through manifestation. And if we have faith, we can scientifically prove this. For, after all, science is the knowledge of universal principles and laws consciously applied for definite purposes. Actually, a pretty good definition of science. There is a science of mind and spirit because there is a principle of mind and spirit. There is a possibility of using the science because we now understand how the laws of mind and spirit work in human affairs. The principle of mind operates through our thought, through our faith and conviction, and most effectively through an attitude of love, of compassion, and of sympathy constructively used. It is impossible to make the highest use of the laws of mind without basing such use of these laws upon inward spiritual perception, upon a conscious realization of the union of people with God. When the physician and the metaphysician come to better understand each other, they will more closely cooperate. It is self-evident that each is seeking to alleviate human suffering. No intelligent person would deny the need of physicians, surgeons, and hospitals. On the other hand, it is generally agreed that a large percentage of our physical troubles are mental in their origin. Okay, I just lost my track. Hang on. Where was I? Okay, so mental in their origin, and that all have some relationship to mental process. It is most important then that the work of the sincere metaphysician should be both understood and appreciated. It is not at all probable that the psychologist can take the place of the metaphysician, for just as the mere healing of the body without an adjustment of the mental and emotional states is insufficient, so the adjustment of mental and emotional states without introducing spiritual values will be ineffective. Hence, there is an important place for the metaphysician, and their assistance should be sought. Okay, hang on. All right. So when I was in anthropology, my undergraduate degree is in anthropology, I took a class on medical anthropology. What struck me, and that's what Ernest just said, why the psychologist, the metaphysician, and the physician are all necessary, okay? To affect true healing, then you have to adjust the body, the mind, and the spirit. And that is one of the things, and that's one of the things the Western medicine doesn't do. They focus solely on the body and mostly on the suppression of symptoms. They don't actually go after the root cause of what the problem is. Mostly because a lot of times the root cause is either mental or spiritual. So, and that is one of the things that I appreciated so much about the Eastern modalities of healing is they approach it from all three levels. They approach it from mind, body, and spirit. If you want to heal the mind, the body, and the spirit, or if you want to affect true healing in the body, you also have to, as he said, adjust the mental and the emotional and the spiritual. All of them are necessary. Oh, okay. Well, good morning to you from Pakistan, in Pakistan. Okay. All right. I am almost done with this. And then I've got to get on. Yeah, I gotta wrap this up. Okay. So physician, metaphysician, and psychologist should cooperate. There should be no sense of mistrust or criticism among them. The metaphysician should appreciate both the psychologist and the physician. In the early day of spiritual therapeutics, it was believed that one could not treat people mentally with success if they were being attended by a physician. That's Christian Science. And even the Christian Science isn't, that bound up anymore. Mary Baker Eddy got really weird about that. A lot of New Thought's not like that. It's like everybody has their place, and we want to cooperate with each other. Okay. Okay. Or if they were using. Now we know that this idea was based on superstition. We no longer give it any serious thought. The metaphysician feels it a privilege to be called into consultation with a physician or with a psychologist. They have learned to appreciate the field of medicine and surgery. The day is certain to come when the field of medicine will recognize, appreciate, and cooperate with the metaphysical field. Well, it's not there yet, but we can hope. Even today, this practice is far more common than the average person realizes. When I was I had a doctor's appointment at a hospital complex, one of the things that they said was, one of the things that I saw was they have parking spaces specifically for spiritual leaders to come into the hospital. So they recognize the necessity of it. Okay. Even today, I already said that line. When the metaphysician stops making foolish statements or denying that their patient is ill, they will find a greater inclination towards recognition from the medical world. In other words, don't deny the experience that the person is having. They are not that illness, but they are having the experience of that illness. Today, most physicians recognize the power of thought in relationship to the body. All realize the dynamic energy of emotions. Yep. The emotions are messy. It can be very messy. Psychiatric hospitals are being built and psychiatric wards are being added to hospitals already in existence. Just as psychology and psychiatry are being introduced into the medical world, so the metaphysical gradually will be understood, accepted, and appreciated. Already, many psychologists are affirming the necessity of introducing spiritual values into their practice. Who is going to meet this need unless it be the metaphysician? Progress is inevitable, and cooperation between all right-minded workers in the healing arts are certain. Let us do all that we can to remove superstition, intolerance, and bigotry, which after all merely result in stupidity. Well, that's a little on the nose. Whew. Okay. We should unite in one common cause, not only to alleviate physical suffering, but insofar as possible to remove its cause. If much of this cause lies hidden in the realm of mind, then surely those who are equipped to work with this realm are contributing their share to meeting a human need. All right. That is that. And let's see. Okay. Yep. Oh. Ernest, I appreciate that he's showing his work. I'm grateful that he is showing his work. I'm grateful that, and I do agree with him about the healing of, if we're going to heal the mind, if we're going to heal the body, we also have to look at the body and the spirit. And there's a place for all of us. And we are not Christian scientists. We go to doctors. We go to doctors. But when we go to doctors, we also go to our practitioners and say, hey, this is what's going on. Know the truth of me. So that is what he's saying. All right. So we'll pick up tomorrow. We've got like 2 more to go, and then the appendix, and I don't know what's in the appendix. So yeah. And then we'll move on to the next book, which is, I believe, Pray and Prosper. So that should be interesting because I am completely unfamiliar with that word. So now I'm going to encourage you to have a great day, wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a take care of yourself day, a let's get this week started off right day, a take care of business day, a you got this day, a drink plenty of water day, a be aware of the heat day. Like I said, it's still in the 90s here. We are having cooler mornings, which I appreciate, but so be aware of the heat, stay out of the sun between 10 and 2. Day, a cuddle your fur babies day, a tell somebody you love them day, a look in the mirror and see the divine looking back at you day, a know who you are day, a good day. And if that is too much pressure, because occasionally it is, and I get that, simply have a day. You are enough just as you are. You are a beloved expression of the divine. You are a brilliant light, a divine spark, spirit in motion, God in action, a beautiful masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time at your own pace. Don't compare yourself to your rate to anybody else's. And as Reverend Jesse likes to remind us, you are a godling. Explore the truth of your being. Get to know who the divine knows you to be, because the divine knows you to be good. And from there, anything is possible. All right, beloveds. I'm wrapping this up. So, Reverend David should be on hang on. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I will be back with you around 9-ish tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Know that you are loved. And I will see you next time.